everyone. And our first area is new added public comment. Does anybody have any public comment? Okay.
We've been talking about Wi-Fi in schools for a while, since 2013, and apparently we've got some emails now with the Freedom of Information Act showing that it's been slowed down on purpose not to respond and not to do things from Matt Stem when he was here. So that's disappointing to see. I'll send you a copy of it so you can see it, but basically we're tired of this guy asking questions. He just wants some action. We don't want that, so let's just slow down. Let's just say we aren't going to answer any farther.
I'm sorry.
We're not going to answer any farther. So that's a very sad thing that we found. We've been asked by the board for federal regulations on radiation levels, and have them here. Go to federal regulations. It has actually, for the general population, what the maximum amount of Wi-Fi exposure can be. We need to measure, see if we're within that. It's well below what these devices can provide, but it's an average of 30 minutes. We can measure that. Once again, I'll offer to provide equipment to do that. No cost, no expense to the board or this group. We shouldn't use that as an excuse, which has been done in the past, that no cost is too expensive. And I would like to pass this on to you. Perhaps you'll take it.
Okay, I will take it.
The Code of Federal Regulations, that's certainly where the specification is.
Okay.
And there's also a chart showing what
Oh, great, there's a website on here too. And then one follow-up to your comment about measurement. I know at the end of one of the meetings, we had mentioned if you could send us via email the exact equipment that you have or using with model numbers, because that's one of the things we wanted to research also on our own, so we were up to speed and on the same page with you.
Can I at least ask, is there any interest in knowing what the radiation level is in the classrooms?
I don't think I can answer that question.
Does anyone here have any interest in that? Because as far as I can tell, no one does, but they won't say it to me directly, so I ask the question, do we want to know if we're within the law or not?
First of all, I don't know if we know what the levels of the law are. I think you're saying you just handed it to me, but I can't respond after, immediately like that, obviously. I don't think anyone here, yourself, has the expertise on this. So let us take a look at it and continue to.
There is no general, we want to be within the legal limits. That's not the standard here?
We don't know what the legal limits are, and I know you said you just
No,
handed it to me.
even, whatever they are, wouldn't you want to be within them? Can't you say that?
Well, I'm not gonna answer anything that doesn't, unless I have researched it and I know what I'm talking about. And the other part of this too, and I know this is all a learning curve with public comment, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think public comment is supposed to be only on items that are on the agenda. So I'm letting it go today, but for future, I think that's how it's supposed to work.
Right, and we're happy to take the information and look at it.
Great.
We understand your concern, and we're looking forward to see the equipment that you are interested in sharing with us,
Yes,
and then we'll take it from there.
maybe we put on the agenda for next week or the next meeting, this issue so that we can talk about it.
I don't know.
Thank you.
Approval of minutes from last meeting. I'll have a motion for approval of the minutes. We had a few minor changes in people, but other than that, does anybody have any changes?
You'll scratch me off officially, right? Not just
You're
move on.
gone. Can I have a motion for approval of the minutes? And then on to old business.
Great, excellent, thank you. I'll try to speak a little faster than I normally do, but if at any point, if anybody has any questions, please feel free to stop me, wave your hand, flag me down. Slow down, Scott, and stop using acronyms. Okay, so going through a couple of the projects that we've just wrapped up and the status of those under old business. The first project I'd like to discuss is where we are with our core switch project. The core switch, we talked about this briefly at the last meeting, is our main connection to the internet. We just successfully completed that project. The device that we previously had, again behind the wall over there, is over 10 years old. What we're doing is we're trying to build in these critical components into a realistic replacement cycle. That was something that was identified that had to be updated. The device has been switched out. We have a new one in place. The downtime is a matter of approximately 3 hours. And everything's stable, it's functioning fabulously. We have more capability than we've had in the past as a result of this upgrade. The second project is our Office 365 project. Specifically, what we started talking about at the last meeting was the implementation of Exchange accounts from on-premise, which means a physical server on the other side of the wall, to the cloud, to Microsoft servers. We have completed the administrative team, the support staff, and the facilities folks. So all of those people have been migrated from on-premise email right here in the building to Microsoft servers. Obviously, there's a greater level of redundancy and some huge benefits of that. The biggest impact is we're migrating from only having 1 gig of storage, which is not a lot for email, up to 50 gigs for everybody. In the past, people had to frequently delete emails to keep it manageable, and they couldn't retain a lot of information because of the physical limitations of what we have here. We're eliminating that with this move, and now people will be able to retain more emails and more of their communication in the past. The next phase of the project is to begin migrating the instructional staff, and that what we'll do with that is selectively through the 3 buildings. For example, we'll say first grade teachers tonight, overnight, you're going to notice your email will be temporarily down, it will be back up in the morning, and the reward will be now you have 50 gigs of storage. Okay, and we had very briefly with Office 2016, we had a glitch with 3 folks, but I took a look at it, yes, a couple days ago, and I have that resolved. So there was a brief interruption, but we took care of that. In terms of infrastructure, closet number 2, which is located down by the cafeteria, there's just a wiring closet down there, right across the hall from the wrestling room. That feeds a tremendous amount of the junior senior high school. It was the last area that needed the actual switches replaced and upgraded. That was just completed as well, and it was the final element that needed to be upgraded to support the increased capacity of the backbone of our district, or what allows the data to be transmitted. So that again was a huge project, which went through successfully. One of the things that it really helps support is the new PTZ cameras. And what I mean by those is, those cameras, the file sizes of that video traveling across our network are very large compared to a traditional standard camera. So things like that need to be put in place behind the scenes so that all of the systems function properly. Apple School Manager project. Right now, we're working with Apple's engineer to complete the full implementation of this. We talked about this at our last meeting. This is going to be replacing the Casper Focus app. It's going to give the teachers the ability to launch students into apps. It's going to give them the ability to launch applications, actually view the names of the applications students are currently using in the class, and last but not least, it will also give them the ability to see the student's screen. So in terms of both behavior management and also the ability to take what a student's doing and highlight it for the whole group, it's going to be a huge win. Right now, there's a process we need to finalize between the Berks County IU and Apple. Once we have that in place, we'll be full-blown and implemented with that. Yes?
What does it mean to lock a student into an app?
The way that the devices are set up, unlike a traditional computer where you can have, well, with iPads, you can have 8 different applications running at one time. This software would allow the instructor to say, okay, everybody in the room, I need you guys all on Schoology. With a click of a button and selecting Schoology, no one can go anywhere else but Schoology. So while Safari could be there, or email, whatever the case may be, it guides them. It's guided instruction.
Okay.
Yeah, it's guided instruction. Yeah, except for with the new version, with what we're rolling out, it's a lot more powerful than what previously existed. This is part of their response to some of losing a little bit of market share to Google.
It doesn't lock them, it doesn't close those apps if they had
No.
been open for a project, it just
Right.
increases them on the.
What the teacher wants them on at the current time. Okay? So moving along with new business, status of the one-to-one project. Right now, we have approximately 99% of the devices deployed to students. I have 2 students that remain upstairs right now, but the students aren't there. The students are not in the room by themselves. I'm sorry.
They're not locked.
The devices are in the room. Unfortunately, they're locked, but I've been in communication with the students and the parents. It's a situation where they used an email address that wasn't sanctioned by the district, and we're working through getting those unlocked. If they can't locate the unlocked email from Apple, we can contact Apple and have Apple do it. It's a little bit of a process. We have to prove purchase and whatnot, but then we can handle that. Ginger Johnson has been fabulous helping us facilitate kids who have been absent and weren't here at the beginning of the school year to get devices. We have about 12 students right now who we can get devices to. And then, comparatively speaking, if you look at this year compared to last year, devices in hand, we are far ahead of where we were last year this time. We had over 50, that had not been deployed at this point. Well, more significant than that, because of the way that we handled the student devices for the younger kids, the devices that they received had the software already installed, it was already configured. It's over the last 2 weeks, a week and a half, I've hardly seen any 7th graders at all. Okay, so huge giant strides there, and that's flowed a lot, just so much more efficiently. And another piece of that is, again, if you look back to last year, Apple went away from Apple IDs that were owned by the student over to managed Apple IDs, which we talked about at the last meeting, where we literally had to touch every device, sign kids out, sign kids in, which we only need to do one time. However, last year, it took 2 months to make sure everybody had a registered ID. We had that ready on day 1, okay? And we're working, again, with Ginger and some folks with registration to try to expedite getting devices for new students into their hands. So we're trying to put additional levels of communication in place so that there's no delay there. And it's a process, obviously, but it's something we're working collaboratively on. So roughly about 2 months ahead of where we were at this time last year. As Dr. Jones referenced, the digital citizen presentations took place this week. Another exciting thing I can share is a new level of collaboration that we're doing with some of the classes, specifically the 7th graders. I talked a little bit about this in policy, but we actually had the students together, and what we're going to plan to do is have a series of little meetings with them during extended homerooms, where we're going to go over application use, things like Schoology. It's also an opportunity for us to share some information on digital citizenship, safety, the proper use of the devices, things like that. And what we've done is we've created classes, one class for every student in that grade. So if the student misses that assembly or is absent that day, whatever we go over, we can post it there. And before the interns graduated last year, I had them compile cheat sheets for the kids. We have 72 pages of instructions that Darmendra and Kyle put together that we're not going to give this to them all at once. We're going to slowly, this is how you do this, this is how you do this, so that as the year goes on, we're continuing to educate them, and at the same time, pointing them all to the same resource. We've looked at some other districts and the way that they've communicated things like that out, and this makes a lot of sense. The next thing that we want to do with this is build those classes in for the 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th graders, particularly with the older students. So when it gets close to graduation, if there's information kids need on caps and gowns, if there's information on prom, we can put it in one place and push it out quickly, and that'll be a huge resource there. In addition to that, the last piece with this is I also intend to set up a new students course area. So if you're a transfer student or someone who's never been here before, rather than just say, hey, here's your device, good luck, they have a place, a point of reference where they can go and get information from. So, and it would be, you know, again, tailored to where they are specifically. So that's where we are there. With the learning management system, just very, very quickly, just to show you some quick stats. Just in 1 week, compared to the entire month of September last year, we're almost at 17,000 visits to Schoology. We're at 351,000 page views. The entire month last year was only hit 200,000. So what you'll see consistently across the board there is we're somewhere between 2 and 5 times where we were last year in a week compared to an entire month. With the lab updates, just a quick word about this. We started a new initiative this summer, collaborating with the computer science department. I know Mr. Minnick left. He and I met again this morning about this. What we've been doing is meeting with him. We had a couple of evenings. There was one Saturday where our network engineer and Kurt got together and they spent 9 hours together going through the whole image with all the software. And they literally went through every piece of everything they were going to teach, build it in so that day one it would be functional. And again, Kurt was really happy with that. And like I wrote here, the new approach reflects our commitment to supporting the instructional needs. And that's what we're trying to do. And we're going to continue to meet with those teachers and perform those health checks that we talked about last year. Make sure that everything is functional as expected and as needed. In terms of our systems, just a quick update here as well. When you look at food services, we migrated from NutriKids this summer over to Primero Edge. All the terminals are up and functional. We had one where a cable went bad in a pole. I had to have our network engineer get in the pole, pull the cable out and fix it, but now all the terminals are functional. They're able to do what they need there. Everything is uploading the way that you would anticipate it to upload. So what's happening is it's reducing time that people had to spend on other tasks, like creating reduced lunch accounts. That kind of information can be pulled out automatically. So that's a huge advantage. With TransFinder, there are some issues with that. I started working with their engineers, helped them locate an error, and working with the Berks County IU and TransFinder, corrected how they're doing the uploading and importing process. So that is now in place and taken care of. With Schoology, we migrated West Reading over, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a moment. But we now have all the students, the teachers, and the courses online as they migrate into using this as a supplemental materials. With Pearson EasyBridge, right now, we're implementing a new central management system. Think of it as a repository. Every license that we own, that we purchase from Pearson, is going to live in one place. So the teachers or the department chairs are going to be able to go in and view all the titles of everything that they've purchased. Then, once a day at 4:30 in the morning, all of the students that are currently enrolled will be enrolled into the central repository. All the teachers will be put in there, all the courses and all the course assignments. So what that will do is, if I am a science teacher, I will be able to say, I need this book assigned to this class, instead of literally looking through 1,000 names and dragging and dragging and dragging and clicking and pulling and manipulating all that data. So it's a level of automation that will make their lives tremendously easier. Last, when a new student gets enrolled in the morning or the day before, they're going to be enrolled just like they are in Schoology and all the other systems. Right now, the last piece we're waiting on is the Berks County IU is, because they host our information system, is developing the templates that are going to be sent to Pearson every day. So that's where that one currently sits. And the last project that's not listed up there, but I should mention really quickly, is our copier software, which is PaperCut. We did identify an issue for those folks who are not regular employees, okay? every employee, every teacher, facilities, doesn't matter who they are, they walk up to a machine, they type in a 4-digit number, and they're able to get their print jobs. Contractors, other folks that are coming in that need to use the devices, what we've started to do is manually create accounts for them so that they can use the resources as well that they're used to in the past. So that wasn't something that Phillips had built in, but we're building that in to close the gap. Okay. With West Reading, excited to share that in August, we kept our commitment, and what we did was we pulled Dr. Babin and Keith Arnold and Shauna Metz, and we were able to deliver a half-day in-service on utilizing technology. We split the day, the time that we were allotted, into 2 parts. The first part was done by Keith and Shauna, and what they did was they went over the physical devices that the kids have access to in the building. Literally, these are the switches, this is how you swipe, these are the gestures, this is how you use them. And then they went over the user interface, how you close apps, how you minimize things, etc., how you organize all of that. They took it, they literally approached it as though someone had no knowledge of it at all. So they are literally tried to build everybody up to the same level with that. And then at the same time, the second session, I introduced Schoology to them, and I talked about designing instruction. How do you take things that are traditionally taught and apply that over to a digital workflow? How do you use the digital resources with these devices, and how do you use it with the devices they already have, like the computer labs? Because it's not limited to mobile devices. These are things that can be utilized in the lab, things that they can start running with right away. I went over the interface, how to distribute materials, collect submissions, and then provide feedback to the kids. Beyond that, we're going to meet with them again. The next time, I believe, is in October. My team, like Mrs. Waller shared earlier, our timeline, our next steps, we're going to be addressing the physical plant over there. There are, I think, approximately 8 outlets that we need to work on with cabling. Making sure that Apple TVs are in place, speakers, cabling, just like we addressed last year with the staff. Our plan is to space these tasks out throughout the fall and then be able to have things ready to go for everybody. The next piece there is also the Apple School Manager, and then making sure that all the controls are in place for all the existing devices. So, I agree. Normally I elaborate a lot more and give examples. However, I want to be respectful of your time. So if you have any questions about that very, very, very fast presentation, I mean, I know you've endured some that have been an hour and a half. Sure. Want me to answer? Oh, okay.
I just have a question
Sure.
about 101.
Yes.
And just, maybe I missed something.
Yeah.
What about insurance? Like last year, we had to write a check to pick
Yep.
up our iPad.
This
This
is-
year, what?
Yes.
It came home with the students. Take home the line.
But I guess my concern is that it was so regimented last year in that you showed up, you gave your check. You know, for the ones that are sitting at the bottom of my backpack, or my kid's backpack, or some kid's backpack, that gets dropped and the iPad gets cracked in the meantime, are we being diligent about following up with parents to ensure these, and like what percentage is insured now was insured last year? Like I want to make sure that, we're not having a parent that comes in and says, I didn't know anything about it, because Emily told me that her insurance from last year covers it this year, so that was her. And she's not a stupid girl, so so I just want to make sure that we're dotting the i's and crossing the t's.
Is that going to be included at open house? Because on the sheet, it said as one of my options was I could pay at open house. I figured somebody was going to say something at open house about it.
Yeah, that's what we've done.
Okay.
It is. It's in the open house letter, even, or it was in the insurance letter. It was in one of those, and they went out last week. To answer your question, though, what we did last year was, they were all insured, and the families were essentially reimbursing the kitchen. We didn't hand out 950 uninsured iPads to the students. We didn't advertise the fact because we wanted to make sure that we got it all back, or as much as possible. But they were insured as they were sent out.
Okay, that
Last
makes
year.
me feel much
But
better.
last year is when we showed up and went to that front table, and this year I kept saying, where's your iPad? And like, we didn't get it yet, or it's, you know,
Yeah, so they
it's
got
a
it
little
first
more,
day.
it's, because it's your second year and the kids know what they're doing.
Right. And then,
I haven't seen the form, I
Right.
didn't know that we were insuring them.
Maybe that's
So-
something that we could have sent out through the email system, you know, the form, do you know what I mean, to parents? Just so that we can be reimbursed, like, it's nice to know that they're all insured, but it'd be nice to also be reimbursed, and then instead of reimbursement down from last year.
yeah. And one of the advantages of the way we did it this year was those younger kids, this way their devices were completely set up. Because they were in and out of that table so fast, it literally took us 2 months to get them all set up. And, yeah, so this, I know, it really be beneficial for the kids.
Anything else? So the next meeting's on Friday. Is that right?
The next meeting follows curriculum. So curriculum is on Friday, October 7th.
I think it's because of the holidays.
Special holidays and actual.
But ultimately, because I wasn't here in August, ultimately, technology's moving to Mondays now, 2 Mondays with curriculum, curriculum's staying Monday.
Because
Okay.
of religious
Right.
holidays.
Got it.
All right.
Had them all laid out.